you. Thank you. Now, I think what we want to gather together and during our discussions is the topic Murda, Muri and Mura, which are basically not just nomenclature of three words that is inspired from the Japanese learnings. And I think we're all aware of Toyota being using that whole ethos of all this work to try and operate their own model for efficient generation of their product pipeline. So with the eminent panel today, and we have two owners from the hospitality industry. We have a designer team and also a project manager, and also from the F&B side, from the food side, we have a senior procurement professional amongst us. And I think what I feel the first, to set a tone to our discussion, let us just hear from each one of our panelists what to them procurement is all about. I think what do they, as a designer, Amit, maybe if I start with you, what do you think procurement, that word, what do you understand by that word procurement?
See, for me, this word is very important because when we start a design, we have to look at the surroundings where the hotel is, what are the materials available. So it really affects a lot on how we are designing a project in terms of the local regional materials. So let's say if you're doing a project in Rajasthan, we might use more stone. If you're doing in Delhi or Bombay, we might use international materials. So it really affects the core of the design, knowing where the material is being sourced from. And then optimization, rationalization of the materials, application on the, also the category of hotel, of course, matters. If you're doing a tier 1, tier 2 city, and which category of hotel. So procurement in a way instills in the design and how we start the design processes.
And Rajesh, what do you, as a project manager, how important is procurement to you and what do you understand?
As a project manager, procurement is a very important aspect of any project, not only the hotel project. But from terms of hotels, it's highly capital intensive product, the hotel. Procurement has to be, first, as Mr. Amit said, needs to meet the designer's requirement. At the same time, the procurement has to meet the cost effectiveness or the budget estimated by the promoters of the development, and timely procurement. That becomes very important, wherein there's a lot of decision making processes needs to be speeded up, and lead time need to be taken into, especially for materials which are in some specific interior materials, equipments which have large manufacturing lead time. So from a project management, procurement plays a very extensive role, is as good as a actual execution of a project, construction of a building. It's the procurement itself plays a major role. So
Sanjeev, as an owner, you've been involved in so many projects and you own and operate your own projects. So how important or how do you consider procurement within your own framework as an important entity? Do you have a complete internal team, or how do you handle that procurement at your end?
I think one of the days when procurement was more like a support function. In today's context, procurement actually can make or break the success of a project. It needs to be a very critical aspect from the design stage onwards. It can't be something that is kind of coming at a much later in the project development phase. It must start right at the design stage. We must invite the ideas from the experts who sits in the procurement team to come up with the specifications, the logistics around various items. It is very important. The way we have gone about it is that we have an in-house team which takes care of that, and primarily is a room-centric model. And we always talk about consistency of the product, because that saves a lot of time in terms of delivery, in terms of setting the POs out and all those things. So that way we've been managing it for our hotels.
Mr. Gopinath, I just came to know that you opened the St. Regis in Maldives, and a lot of procurement related, and that's your first international project. Congratulations for the same. So if you could just throw some light on the procurement word and the processes that you followed efficiently, or some learnings, because you were involved in both international and local procurement over the whole, say, life cycle of that project.
Thanks, Madhu. In an operating hotel, correct procurement adds directly to your bottom line. Money saved, in order to compensate that, you need to do 3 times the sales to get the same effect on the bottom line. So correct price, correct timing, and correct product is very important as far as procurement is concerned. Maldives is, I'm sure all of you are aware, it's 1,200 islands, one island, one hotel. Typically the islands are from 8 to 10 acres to 35 acres. Literally when you go there, it's a virgin island in the midst of the Indian Ocean. There's no water, there's no electricity, there is no drainage, absolutely nothing. So literally it's like you don't build a hotel, you build a city. You have to be self-sufficient in terms of electricity, completely on generator. And as far as the water is, you take the seawater and then you desalinate it, use it for construction as well as the staff living over there. And then the sewage has to be treated and then put back into the water. So Maldives as a country, there is nothing available. Even the sand, bricks, steel, everything has to be imported. Completely 100%, 99% of the product has to be imported, with the consultant in 5-6 different countries and the supplies coming from different countries, coordinating that from where the owning company is based in Chennai, coordinating the whole effect. And it took about morning, I've been attending the session from the morning. In India, if you are doing the project within 4 years, it's been considered as a very successful model. We completed it in 40 months, the project, with all these restrictions and challenges. As far as the government is concerned, it was very easy to operate. I used to apply for the licenses, clearances. Most of the things were done sitting from India, and then a couple of visits to the tourism ministry. Otherwise, the clearances, we never had a problem. I think logistics, coordinating the whole effort was a challenging issue, and with the correct people at the correct place, we could manage that. I think procurement also, you need to have the right person at the right place, which makes the job easier.
And Nitin, you've been in hotels and now you are heading a food link, and in terms of the procurements of complete leading that from the front end, and being in an industry which is to deal with a lot of perishables. I think procurement in your has a different story to tell, probably a different overview to that whole subject as such. So what do you have to add to the same?
Thank you. Procurement for me is an extension of purchase. So purchase is an agreement, it's a trade wherein a buyer enters into an agreement with the seller for a consideration. And procurement is an extension of purchase. So it's a terminology which has got into India about 15-20 years ago. We were never saying that we never called it procurement, and suddenly it's become procurement. So I was director purchase, I was renamed as director procurement say 10 years ago at Westin, and then I realized there is something called procurement. It's a part of supply chain which takes care of not just identification of goods, but you identify the vendor, we now call all the vendors as partners. You identify partners, you ensure the logistics is managed, you ensure that the supplies are delivered at the right time, right place, and when it is needed. That's the procurement. So if you talk about procurement of perishables, it is either easy or it's difficult. If you specify what do you need, then it's easy. If you do not specify what do you need, then it's very, very difficult. So every stakeholder in terms of the partners who are supplying, the partners who are receiving, and the partners who are consuming need to understand what do they need, when do they need, and how much do they need. If all these aspects come together, then the Muri can be controlled very well. So it's important that everybody becomes responsible in procurement, and that results in better bottom line. We nowadays, again, that's called EBITDA, which again I learned it some time ago, that you need to have a better EBITDA. So that's what it would ultimately result in that.
Okay, so Amit, in the world of design, when you are actually specifying products at that stage, how important for you is the regional availability of the products for an optimization of the operating functions? So do you in design think that it's important to understand the operational efficiencies while designing? And how do you say probably incorporate in your design? Because
So you mean sourcing if you're using more local materials?
yes.
It not really depends, like I said, the location of the property. And a lot of things come into play. The cost comes into play. The quality of the product comes into play. Because if I'm getting a better product from Germany, let's say as a facade system and Indian system, I would definitely choose this. Especially in hotels, when the EPCG kicks in, we get 30% discount on everything. So it depends, it's a give and take. Depends really on what the design wants to express. One of the main things in the design which we try to do is to make it efficient in terms of energy calculations, reducing the heat gain. So this comes into play. And in terms of sourcing, it becomes a byproduct. If you're using a jali, then the material might be, of course, standardization has to be done. We will not make glass sizes completely off, everything is different. So optimization becomes a key thing. And it's all about the costing, I think, in the end. So I would not say that we'll always look very close to the site where we're sourcing from, but it's about giving the best product to the client which we can get.
And maybe Rajesh, you can throw a little light, because as a project manager, you have a very big responsibility, because you are probably the fulcrum in between the owner and the designer to execute the project. So you have to deal. So how do you say, maybe if I use this word value engineering, how do you value engineer any specification by the designer to meet both brand standards and owner's budget?
So, coming back to your question on how value addition, that's a very complicated and a very critical area which specifically goes into the design element, and the designer has his requirements. At the same time, the owners have their restraints of spending X amount for a particular product. Like you mentioned about a facade. So he would like to have a facade which is imported from Germany, but and if the promoters do not have the money to spend for that facade, then the both of we play a major role in putting them together and trying to give a solution which can meet the requirements of the designer as well as meet the budget of the promoter. And at times there are conflicts, and at times the promoters also understanding what the interior, when you appoint an architect or an interior designer, ultimately he knows what he's going to deliver, and he knows how the looks of the room will come out and how the building would actually bring value to it.
So is this process, sorry to cut you a bit short, so in this whole process of value engineering, do you bring the designers in loop with the decisions that the owner is intending to take?
In this, most of the time, the vendors play a major role. So probably a look-alike material or something similar which is available, the local vendor may be able to give much more value addition than we consultants, and satisfy the requirement of the designer as well as meet the cost what is projected for the project.
I also add here,
Yes.
In the break we were discussing that how important is relationship with the partners. And I think without the relationship, the existence of all of us is not there. So when again, let me take this discussion back to Murda, Muri. When you have good relationship with the partner, it makes our job so easy that the value addition comes in, the just-in-time comes in, the cost benefit comes in, value engineering comes in. So at the end, everybody is happy. They are happy, we are happy. They recommend what is apt for the project. They tell us this suits your personality, your requirement. And then automatically everything boils down to how good you are. Agar मैं कहूँ अब मैं seat पे बैठा हूँ and I'm the boss, that doesn't help. So how important you feel and what importance you give to the other person, that really helps. And I think that gets back to our tradition, our culture of Indianness. When Dr. Agarwal was talking about value addition in terms of delivering that mobile in the dabba and that letter in the dabba, it was really amazing. That if something like that can happen on a day-to-day basis, I think our partners can help us to be better than what we are.
Yeah, and I think even I would just second you, on what you just said, that the partners and the associates, as we call them as, they are actually our point which we do not take 100% very seriously, because they are all specialists. So if we are buying a carpet from a carpet vendor, they are only breathing in and out carpets. So they can actually educate us much more than we can. So I think that's an open approach, a collaborative approach towards our associates and vendors is something that can bring the owners a lot of value. And I've been 27 years on that side as well during my whole experience, and I think it's our responsibility also to work towards the local community and build the vendor base as well. Not only just try and look, because there might be certain learnings from, say, Mr. Gopinath and from Sanjeev during their journey of building and operating their own hotels that could help all of us.
I would like to add here, when we started the construction in Maldives, the owners are from India. Absolutely no clue about, there was a dream, yes, we should have a hotel. What is the difficulties? Absolutely we went through this. The architect was from Singapore. For him also that is the first project. And even though we were experienced in operating hotels in India, we were in the construction real estate industry. We've been doing that for the past 50 years. But when you come to doing the project in a new place, literally we need to depend on the suppliers or vendors who've been working in that country for a long time. Literally you need to go to their factory, sit with them, understand how it is different. Because what you know is maybe very little. When you go out into the market, there is a vast knowledge, and knowledge is available, which has to be put into your project so that your project benefits from that.
And Sanjeev, regarding the prototypical approach to your projects that you have, has it benefited on this time frame, reducing and also to complete your projects on time?
Absolutely. I think procurement is one activity which is hugely dependent on third parties, as we call them partners. And I think least we can do is to help them out, understanding what we want from them. I think one very important aspect there is that we should have consistency of prototype. And if you have a prototype which is well conceived, which already exists for someone to come and have a look, it really helps out the suppliers understand it. No matter how detailed are your specifications in your bill of quantity, but if you can see something which is in front of him, it makes life so much easier for him. So I think that's very important. And also I think I would like to add here is that if you have, let's say there are 100 items in a project that needs to be procured, if you can make a large chunk of those as standard items, and I think we as a Premier Inn hotel, our model is very room centric, and our procurement items for rooms are pretty much well set. So there is no room of any uncertainty there. So that is like you do this way, and you can get your POs out, and things can be put in the pipeline. A little bit of creativity, sampling for public areas of course has to be there, because you want every hotel to look different. But that's just a small aspect. When you tackle the room procurement in that very standardized fashion, it's like half battle won. So personally for us, it has helped a lot in terms of expediting the whole delivery of the project.
Okay, if I was to ask each one of you about the challenges in your own role from a procurement perspective, what would you maybe list the top maybe start with you, Nitin.
Sure.
What do you think is the biggest challenge today that we all face from a procurement perspective, and where we can improve?
I think the biggest challenge within India is logistics management, because there are products which are available of good quality, but when you harvest them, they don't reach the end customer in time, and there is a wastage as big as 40-45% per day, and that is one part which is not managed. So the cold chain, especially for agricultural produce, not there at all. Literally, believe me, I come from a place called Nashik. I belong to Dhule and Rajasthan. So it's a green patch where my roots are. And then we have all types of vegetables available there, all types, literally. But then it doesn't reach here because they don't have logistics. So if I can talk about it. And then people are not even ready to invest because they don't see value, as buyers are not giving that kind of money to them. So that is one. And second, I think the trained manpower is the second challenge which I feel. Because everybody comes in as fresher, you train them and he goes off somewhere else. So that's a big challenge which I find.
What about you?
I think in an operating hotel, I can tell you, the purchase manager plays a similar role as the sales manager. Right? The sales manager is important. Purchase manager, if he can reduce the time, if he can reduce the stock in the store, or if you can procure it at the right price, it adds directly to your bottom line, right? So, but I mean, there is a lot of awareness which is coming in the role of the purchase manager. I'm sure if that role is well defined, it will add up directly to the bottom line of the hotel.
I think for me, I would say that when you need to deploy construction innovations, and where you want to try out these new technologies, that becomes a challenge with the procurement, because all these technologies will come at an added price. And on one side you want to adopt these because they may not give you a direct benefit of cost, but they do give a lot of indirect benefit, which is faster delivery and things like that. So that becomes a very big challenge in terms of whether to go for it or to defer it to the next project. I think every time, whenever we wanted to adopt something new for the hotel construction, this comes as a challenge constantly.
I think there you need an informed buyer who should be able to convince you about the future and the yield.
Yes.
And if it can help you to return, to get your ROI faster, I think that buyer needs to.
Absolutely.
I blame myself. So it's important that every buyer here sitting here needs to be as informed as anybody else. So then they would be able to convince the owners, and ultimately not just good product comes in, but it helps to get in the ROI faster and get the EBITDA faster.
Just as an example, I mean, we've been using prefabricated bathrooms for our hotels. We've used in 3 hotels so far. So while it comes to us at a costly, at a larger cost, it does give you a head start in terms of faster delivery. And traditionally, in a hotel development, bathroom is one very painful aspect. No matter how hard, how well you try, you still end up having some issues here and there. But when you go for prefab kind of technology, it becomes almost like a piece of furniture. It becomes pre-fitted, pre-engineered, and it makes your life on-site hassles much lesser.
And Rajesh?
So the greatest challenge I've experienced in this is from procurement aspect is decision making from the promoters, basically not because of anything else rather than their financial planning. They wouldn't be prepared to pull out the money at the right time to buy the materials, and that in fact leads to a delay in the project, by which the costs do go up, and at times it becomes really difficult even for the vendors to stick to the prices they've negotiated to a large extent. The promoters basically would like to have a cost, so from the cost perspective, all the project managers and the partners, the architect, interior decorators, the consultants, everybody specifies the materials, get the rates freezed along with the vendors. But when it comes to procuring that gets delayed a lot. Maybe because of financial planning, they must have not got some, bank debt cleared or sanction has not happened, something on the other hand, and that's the biggest challenge, and it adds to the cost of the project. At the end of the day, they realize the cost has gone up, and procurement plays a major role and a major challenge in this aspect of project management.
And Amit, with your you are basically from a design point of view, you are specifying, and I think you play a very, very important role. I always say you are like creators. So at your stage, how does this material innovation in terms of which is happening every day, even when I am meeting after so many years, every day I see some new materials come in. So how do you keep pace with the innovations in terms of even operational efficiencies, in terms of cost efficiencies, in your design specifications? When you are putting together your control document to be handed over to an owner or a project manager to take it further.
So like you very correctly, the specification writing is very good. You should not leave any gray area in the specification writing. Because if the architect makes a mistake and the tender is floated, then the contractor has a very free hand. So specification writing has to be very precise in what we want. Second part is the PMC or owner plays a very important role, because at times it's in stone. If you want a volume in mind, even what comes out changes throughout the year. Throughout the one year, some colors different other. There has to be a collaborative process between the architect and the owner of the PMC, that the samples are again shown, approved, and then done. Because we might have something else in mind, we might have something else in the product is the same. And the third thing is all these materials which we see in India, which are coming. It might be a German material or solid surfaces or whatever it is. We cannot just go by the images which are shown to us by the vendors. The interesting thing is most of the images are from European projects, what you see in the camera. If you ask for Indian images, the product is completely different, because they don't know how to execute. The skill set of the machining these elements in Europe is a very high skill. It's a very high skill job which is done. We have to be very careful that what we see, it is executed on the site, not that we see some very cool image of a good testing specifiers. And then we have to be also careful about how it is used. Scratches and a lot of things, how it reacts. So let's say if you put a solid surface in a bathroom, it might not work. It might be well done for 2 years. So the longevity of the thing and the execution, how it is executed. There's a lot of things we cannot just blindly see. And if they're done in India, it's good to see a case study. If it's a very new material. We're not against innovation, but we have to be careful. We don't make a mistake. Because this property has to hold in for, especially the architecture, is lifetime. In years, it is going to change. If you put a wrong section, it's there to
I want to share a very important discussion that happened about a few years back in a conference, which was a facade conference. And since you are here with, I think I take this opportunity, because this is something that I think we as Indians, I asked a question, I said, who owns the facade? Does the architect own the facade? Does the project manager own the facade? Does the facade consultant own the facade? Does the person who's supplying the material own the facade? But there's no answer. In today's time and world, there is no answer. So I'm just saying, I think we have to also start taking ownership. Who takes the ownership of what we do in our capacity? And it cannot be one person. It has to be collaborative. So I think our approach has to change. I think here our approach has to be a very collaborative approach, because each one of us is a specialist. Like, if I am sick, I go to the hospital and to a general physician, but if he finds my heart is a problem, I have to go to a heart specialist. Similarly, I think we have to find the pain in the project and then try and advise. That's what we always feel, that we cannot know it all. If we know it all, so I think that's the approach that I feel. We have to all learn every day, and we need to really grow with that. So how do we collaborate? I think let's just throw some ideas and maybe ask the audience. Let the audience, I want to ask, say Mr. Messi, you are like a pioneer in procurement. Why don't you give us an idea? How can we make things work better, reduce this time frame, reduce the waste that we generate out of the whole process is in terms of even time. Time lost is money lost. And also, so maybe to hear from you, somebody can pass on a mic to Mr. Messi, who would like to hear his thoughts. Somebody will just pass on the mic.
At my experience, what I have learned over these 40 years, that we must do the planning. You know, the planning we don't put on time because we just plan 5% and 95% time we spend on executing the project. When we are conceiving the project, we should have all the architects, of plumbing and interior, everybody should be on the board. But most of the time what happens is we don't get them on the board and we take phase wise and then they start planning our projects. Second, the budget is not been finalized. What we have at the end of the day, what I get in my hand is, I can't buy anything out of the budget because budget planning is not done properly. And the procurement need to be involved at the time of the planning. You know, when you are deciding your products, they need to be part of your team. And like the architect said, you know, in India, I have developed more than 62 hotels. But I have developed each and everything in Taj Group of Hotels. We have developed, you can see the live with them in Mumbai. And India has the technology, India has the capability, and our vendors, brother and sister, they develop very beautiful stuff. So I believe that we should plan our hotels in time. We should involve all the architects, electrical, plumbing. Everybody should be part of the team, and then only we should start once for the procurement part. And this is what my learnings are.
Anybody else would like to share some thoughts on how this whole procurement process can become a little more collaborative?
And then when we are planning this project, we should have a breakdown structure, how we are going to get the material on site, which material is required and when. So we don't block our money. So it has to be synchronized along with my construction, as well my operating supplies when they are produced has to be done. I should have a breakdown structure which we know we do it for all our projects. So we plan our procurement accordingly to save money.
Good afternoon. I just like to share one thing. As Messi said, that's one of the part. Procurement, there's a lot of pressure on procurement always that you deliver in time. We close contracts, we place contractors on board, material starts coming in, but the site is not ready. Operations somehow lags, and I think they jump the gun most of the times. And today also we go and see at the site, there's a lot of material lying at site. And this leads into more, I think, the extent, I mean the warranties already expired, 4-5 months is really into that. By the time those things get fixed into the site, I think you are halfway down the line. So that coordination needs to be done as well.
So another thing that I want to maybe ask the panelists is how can we reduce the waste, and how do we actually involve the sustainability and the green aspect in our procurement processes? I think this is again, we need to think a little beyond. And Nitin, I think you've been doing a lot of work on this, and it'll be good for you to share with the audience some of the actions that you've taken on that.
You know, for sustainable development, it means you not just develop yourself, but you take care of the mother earth. So there are several aspects, buying non-harming products, less chemicals, products which are biodegradable, but also connecting oneself to the local community. So me in my capacity, wherever I have worked, I've also ensured that we buy and develop the local community. So there are certain associations which are run either by Environmental Association or Conservation Association. We buy a lot of products from them. So small little things like dusters, napkins, we buy mops from them. Also there is Swaminarayan Sanstha, which comes and collects the garbage from the organization. Ganpat Davi is sitting here from the Four Seasons. So he also donates the garbage to the Sanstha. Sanstha uses that fund to develop schools, develop orphanages. So that sustainability development is a part where not just we help ourselves, but we help the society and community in Delhi. So that's an important aspect.
CSR.
Yeah. And wastages is important to control at the time of receiving itself. Correct specification, the receiver is knowledgeable, he knows what to receive and what not. And then that stage itself, we control our own wastages. Where Muri is controlled at that level itself. And then the chefs are involved, informed. The food safety hygiene standards are followed. And then thereafter, the entire chain helps you to reduce wastage.
What about you?
In my opinion, the hotels are good. I mean, I've gone through a very tough phase from 2010 to 2016, and only in the morning I heard there is a sign of recovery. I think every department, in my opinion, I've gone through finer details to see what can be done to avoid wastage, and it's an ongoing process. I think every department comes with it, whether it is energy, whether it is procurement or breakage, wherever there is a wastage, we are moving in the right direction, and there is no, it's a journey and then it will continue. That's the only way to sustain the market.
I think there are two aspects which would lead mitigation of wastage. Number one really is that someone mentioned in Muri is that timely delivery. Interfacing of the site preparedness versus delivery of a certain item got to be right. So it may not be perfect, but it got to be within that tolerable limit. What we don't want is that the material has arrived, site is not ready, or vice versa. I think both scenarios are not good. And second really is the sequencing of fixing those items on site. At times in the eagerness of showing the progress, you at times follow the wrong sequence of fixing. You end up removing it, really fixing it, which is like a sometimes, if you're lucky, you don't get any wastage, but just removing it and refixing it can lead to a lot of wastage.
I would add to Sanjeev's point. So a lot of wastage can be controlled also by reducing changes, which is quite rampant in the hospitality industry. As our earlier panel was discussing, of somebody going to Europe and seeing some design and he comes back and quickly wants to modify. By the time the material would have already arrived, and that creates a lot of wastage. And stocking materials much well in advance also leads to wastage due to breakages. So this is a balance between proper planning, proper decisions taken should be weighed properly before a change is being put across. So I think that should control everything, all aspects of the procurement.
If I can just speak about sustainability, which you touched on. So as hotels, we have one of the biggest carbon footprint which we generate. We are very energy intensive with HVAC cooling and lighting. So I think as a designer, the cost of construction and the cost of operation is very critical to us. So these two things you have to look at when you're designing a property. Like in some of the properties, we do a lot of thermal heat simulation. The form itself, before we start specifying, reduces the heat. So let's say in some properties reduced it at 42%. And then the specification will reduce, the operational cost will reduce, and the sustainability goes up. So we are reducing the carbon footprint. And also the good thing is they're saving money to that point by doing this. It's a holistic process which comes in together, which we are looking at in terms of sustainability.
So just to close the panel and with some notes that I think we need to look at is that what came out of very big is that procurement is basically a process, and it is a very collaborative process. It cannot be a responsibility of an individual. It has to be a responsibility starting from the specifier to someone who's going to receive that material. So the education of what is the right product that is ordered, what is the technical specification, and also I still remember many years back This is like in the 80s. And I was actually training at the Murda Sheraton, then, the Oberoi, the Murda. And when I was at the receiving, there was a process which was called market survey. And then we used to go out with the receiving manager to the market survey for a particular product. And then the product which met our brand standards was put in the receiving as a sample against which was replaced by the user department regularly, as and when the specs changed. So I'm telling you, the brick and mortar has to stay, even if we have to, so that some of the ethos of our learnings in terms of the old school need to be also imbibed with the technology improvisation of today, which is a good combination of technology and experience, which we need to put into the whole process, synchronize, standardize the procedures, eliminate the loops, and set sort of a common tempo with the collaborative approach. Thank you.
Perhaps we have a couple of questions.
Yeah. Any questions?
This question
Yeah.
Goodness, the onslaught of questions that might be coming.
Any questions?
Any questions from the audience? So, maybe if I could get the ball rolling by asking one question. One common statement that seems to be occurring is this trip to Europe and how European countries are so beautiful and efficient. Let me tell you about one European country that is so efficient that they're actually importing garbage. Sweden, where our official air purification partner Blue Air is from. Sweden is actually importing garbage, and that's how efficient they are. So, is there a possibility, does many of your panelists know what is it that is enabling them to be so efficient? Is there a possibility that we might become as efficient as the Swedes are when it comes to reducing waste and even, after a certain point, importing garbage? Because you need to import garbage for composting and other things. So, is there a possibility of that happening in the near future? Any of the panelists?
No, I don't think that can ever happen to India. Because the sheer size of the country, the population, that we are self-sustainable at least for garbage disposal and garbage collection. We don't even ever, and I would thank God that we are having something which we don't need to import. There are other products which we don't make, we will continue to import. But Make in India is one thing which will help us to make things in-house, and then I'm sure garbage is already one of the first products.
The audience? Can we get a microphone over there, please?
Hello. Hi, this is Sriyal again. No, it's a very interesting point you made that Sweden is importing garbage.
Yeah.
Now, the other day in Bangalore, we had this master series sessions where we call architects from all over for interior designers. There's this chap called Singh Shooter. Okay, he's from Thailand, and he's an architect basically. And a very interesting name he has. He calls his firm something scrap something company. You'll be surprised what he's doing, the buildings he's making, but out of nothing. He makes gold out of nothing. He showed us eggshell. There are 40 million eggshells in Bangkok, in a city like Bangkok, and out of that only 1% is recycled. And he's worked out a methodology where he converts them to beautiful boards. And garbage with a lot of plastic, he converts them into boards, construction boards. Amazing stuff, very high density, very high conclusive steel boards. And the plastic shines like in that granite, we have that one type of granite that you get that, it's amazing. So someone takes this up. So obviously Sweden is the mecca of design. And they must be importing garbage to turn it out to something really, really, really amazing. That's one thing someone should take up in India or contact this guy and make a collaborative effort like you say. Absolutely brilliant. Very impressive.
The gentleman over there has a question. Why do we have just one quick point before I get to you, sir. During my days as a TV reporter, I used to go around covering stories all over the city, especially here in Bengaluru. One of the interesting things that I saw, I used to cover the city week, by the way. One of the interesting things that I saw was this concept of upcycling. So you have recycling, and then you have something new which is called upcycling. An example is if you take those Tetra packs, which you commonly use to find juice and milk and all of that, you take those Tetra packs, once the juice is over, you take the packs and you mold it in such a way that you actually have a handbag out of it. You have a handbag, you have a carry bag, and there are so many innovative things like this that I kept seeing every day on a daily basis. So, we're seeing things like that happen over here in India as well. Why here in Bengaluru, where I am from as well. So that's another interesting concept.
You're in Bombay.
Yeah, I'm in Bombay. Bengaluru is home for me. Sir, you had a question.
Yeah. Hello, I am Sunil Kumar from KZUR here, and we are one of the biggest producer and exporter of honey from the country. I have a question to your panel that how much percentage of organic products are being consumed in hotels? We are talking about sustainability, we are talking about nature. So my straight question goes to that. And also on the innovation part, I will bring to the notice of the audience that we have a center called as National Center of Organic Farming in Ghaziabad. There, I am part of that center. It's a Government of India property. There we have developed a decomposer which is just 20 rupees cost, and it can convert 1000 tons of garbage into compost. So such is the innovation in our country, but I am surprised that many of us are not aware of that. Thank you.
Hello.
What of organic?
Okay. If you talk about the usage of organic products in India, especially in hospitality industry, it's absolutely negligible, not even in 0.001%, because we, do not have those kind of producers who straight away sell us. Second, we consider the product cost is much more expensive than what we buy. Third, there are not takers. There was a restaurant which we had built at the Taj Lands End, which was based on the organic produce sale. That restaurant we had to close in 1 year's time because there were no takers. So I'll blame again all of you. So if there are takers, then there are buyers. So yes, there is an awareness wherein we are trying to minimize the chemical components, chemical intake. But then to reach to that level of using organic products, I think will take some more time. We need, Sunilji, we need somebody like you to come and tell us the benefits. And also, if you can help us to connect with the farmers who can utilize their existing logistics management and sell it to us. We are ready to buy as long as there is a product which is available consistently. There will be a market for sure.
You are talking about the organic waste converter. I think now it's becoming a mandatory in most of the cities. I think the corporation refuses to take the garbage from the hotel, which used to be the normal practice earlier. Now the hotels have to convert the garbage into organic waste, and they have to hand it over to the corporation parks, or they have to sell it outside. I think awareness is there, but we have a long way to go.
Before you ask a question, Mr. Mohan Kumar, I think our technical guys are inspired by this whole conversation of sustainability and reducing wastage, which is perhaps why the lights are switched off. But I don't know, maybe we're so inspired by this whole saving business that, yes, we want to save electricity, but it'll be good if we have the lights on. Mr. Mohan Kumar.
Yeah, my name is Mohan Kumar. I was with the Taj Group and been a hotelier all my life. I'm with Orange County and a whole lot of brands now. I'm tempted to ask this question, and it's been in my mind for a long time. First of all, if we have a concept called zero discharge properties, where not a single thing is discharged from affluent to a whole lot of things that we generate in a hotel. So how about all of you hoteliers not thinking of zero waste? Why do we even create waste? For instance, actually today we are creating a concept called, in the production facilities of all the hotels, that you have to produce only what is to be consumed. So what is your take on that?
Mr. Mohan Kumar, as far as the hotels which are being built now, right, leave the hotels which are done in the 80s and 90s, there is a lot of changes which are happening. I think there's a lot of awareness in ensuring that the waste is processed within the campus, right, so that what goes out is minimized to the maximum, right? As far as the kitchen waste and the biodegradable waste, most of the things are processed inside the campus, whether STP, whether diesel waste, oil, cooked oil waste, all those things are processed inside. And for some of the properties which are built in the earlier times, they are finding it difficult due to real estate space constraint. But now I think government agencies are also becoming very strict in ensuring that. Leaving the government agencies apart, I think hotel owners are becoming more aware and then interested in ensuring that hotels don't send the waste out of the hotel.
That was actually a very interesting question. Maybe one last comment, if we have any.
Mr. Mohan Kumar is fondly called as PKMK, the Tajik group, and I worked under you, sir. So, sir, it's important for all of us to understand the importance of sending out the waste or creating waste. So as long as ma'am was talking about being responsible, when we become responsible citizens, we'll start reducing that waste. Complete elimination may not be possible because the product comes in a particular packing because of the nature of the business, wherein we don't have just-in-time deliveries which can be used. And also businesses, like today, we were expecting about 500 people, but just 300 people come in, so that food which is to be made for 500. So that point would always be there. So the hotels will have ways of utilizing that kind of, one, minimizing and also utilizing if there is any surplus. So there will be only, it's a cat and mouse story, that how can you minimize it? Complete elimination, again, I think it will be difficult. But thank you for this question.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's a mindset, basically I think we all have to change our mindset and just think about it, at least think about it.
Okay. On that note of mindset, I don't know how many of you noticed, but as soon as Mr. Mohan Kumar finished asking his question, the lights came on. That was like a light bulb moment for all of us. Why are we even talking about waste? Why can't we optimize the process in such a way that there is no waste at all, and do only what is required to be done? Fantastic question, Mr. Mohan Kumar. And our panelists, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sharing your insight with us. Can we please hear it for our panelists? As a token of our appreciation, our director Ganesh would like to hand you a memento with, of course, your photograph of this panel discussion. So, Ms. Madhu Chandok, a memento for you. Mr. Rajesh Nair as well. Can you project the mementos on the screen? Mr. Amit Gupta. Mr. Gopinath. Mr. Sanjeev Jain. And of course, saving Mr. Nitin Nagrale for the finale. Mr. Nitin Nagrale. And of course, a shot for the camera.